F1 on ITV, sponsored by Shell V-Power.
Well, a Chinese Grand Prix that we virtually handed to Alonso and Renault before the race starts brings a huge surprise amid great confusion in drying conditions, great tyre confusion, and Michael Schumacher takes the victory, takes a share of the World Championship lead, Mark Blundell. But how badly wrong did Renault get it today?
Well, you know, I think they had a little bit of an area of concern when they changed the front tyres, but I think they would have clawed that back, to be perfectly honest with you, Stephen. The biggest problem for Alonso was this pit stop. They went on to dry tyres, and unfortunately they had a right rear tyre which didn't go on properly. They had to re-thread the wheel nut back on again and then try and get it secured. It cost them some 20 seconds. The pace of Alonso was outstanding. If he hadn't have had this problem, I think he actually would have won this race.
Even with that decision to go to new intermediates on the front?
Yeah, I think they still could have clawed it back because the pace he was running in the dry was significantly quicker than anybody else. But you have to say, Michael Schumacher, as we said before, never ever underestimate the guy.
The good thing from the Renault point of view is that they did have that pace in the last section of the race. They proved something to Ferrari today, which might hold good in Japan in a week's time.
Definitely, because I think it's proved now that Renault are on pace in the dry conditions. When it got to the end of this race, Alonso's pace was significantly quicker than anybody, as we said, and we're going into Japan and Brazil knowing now that we have a straight dogfight between drivers and between the manufacturers of Renault and Ferrari.
But ahead of the race, even given the drying conditions, this should have been comfortable for Renault, shouldn't it?
Well, all the signs were there throughout the whole weekend that they should have taken this race win. But saying that, you know, Schumacher, he just kept going and clawing away and made sure he was in the hunt, and he capitalised on it, and he didn't put a foot wrong.
And towards the end of the race, in that final lap as well, we had that extraordinary battle, the Honda battle, Barrichello and Jenson Button, and really mixing it at the finish there.
You know, watch Jenson here. He actually positions himself really well, and he actually gives Heifeld a little bit of a blocking situation in terms of putting him behind that Honda there of the Super Aguri, and it made Barrichello a little bit deep into the corner. It wipes Heifeld out, but Jenson put himself in that position, capitalised on it, as I say there, and gets fourth place. Great drive by Jenson.
Let's give you another check on the details. The championship table now has shared lead between Michael Schumacher and Fernando Alonso, and Jenson Button picking up points as well, but all eyes on that fascinating battle. Ferrari against Renault, Schumacher against Alonso. It's guaranteed to go down to the wire now, to the final round in Brazil, and Renault retake the lead in the Constructors' Championship, courtesy of Fisichello's finish, along with Alonso's finish and Felipe Massa's retirement as well. How will Renault reflect on this? How difficult is it in this kind of race, these kind of conditions, and given the problems they had on the pit wall there with a power failure as well, to get everything right and stay ahead of the game?
Well, I think they're going to reflect on the basis saying, did they really need to change those front tyres? You know, it seems to be some feedback that the fronts needed to be changed. Was it critical at that moment? They'll have to have a look and go back over it. The wheel nut problem is one of those things. We've seen it happen to various people in various teams. But what we do have now is a straight fight, and I'm intrigued by it. Schumacher never had some luck at China. Well, that's all out the window now, isn't it? He's just won this one. We're going to Japan. He is fantastic at Suzuka.
And have you seen Michael Schumacher as excited after a race as he was in that celebration immediately before the podium?
Well, you know, we've seen him like that when he's won World Championships, and he's not got there quite yet, but I think he senses he's got, you know, every which way possible now to do it. And I'm not going to put no money on it, that's for sure. It really is a great battle to the end.
But Renault will emerge from this, and Alonso will emerge from this a little bit demoralised, for sure, and the momentum still feels to be with Schumacher.
It does. I think, you know, but Alonso came into this race, there was a few words, a few gestures kind of made on what was going on off the back of Schumacher's retirement. Those words haven't really paid off. Even though the pace was there by Alonso, the end result, that piece of paper says Michael Schumacher first. He's got the upper hand. They are a little bit on the back foot.
It's a fabulous championship, isn't it?
It's fantastic. I mean, if we needed to write down in a book next chapter, I'm ready for it.
Okay, we move on to Suzuka next weekend, and then it's Brazil to decide the championship as well. But let's remind you of sport still to come on ITV today. And the football roundup in the championship, that's at 9:55 this morning. Another chance to see this amazing Chinese Grand Prix at 1:30, with further highlights at 1:15 midnight tonight. The Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka is the next Formula One. It's next weekend. You can see qualifying at 3:15 on Saturday afternoon, live race coverage at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning, and see that again at 3:30 in the afternoon. Then back to today, 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's live coverage of the final round of the British Superbikes from Brands Hatch. That's at 4 o'clock. And enjoy all the highlights of the Goodwood Festival of Speed. That's on Tuesday evening. Plenty of sport coming up. But in Shanghai, a race that should have been dominated by Fernando Alonso and Renault today has been absolutely stolen by Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. And together with it, Michael Schumacher has also stolen a share of the World Championship lead. We go on to Japan as this amazing Formula One season gets better and better. Bye-bye.
F1 on ITV, sponsored by Shell V-Power.
For the latest news from the pit lane, visit itv.com/F1, sponsored by Shell V-Power.